Hello everyone, welcome to Sit Still, Look Pretty. It's Priya here with you. Actually, it's only Priya here with you today. Alas, the solo episode has arrived. I have to say it's a little nerve-wracking being alone in the studio, but hey, I can learn to embrace it. The way I see it, what better way to open up to people without actually talking to anyone? Kidding, but it is a good segue into the topic for today's episode, which is perspective. Simply put, perspective just means a point of view, but when we say gain perspective, we refer to having a rational mindset, which leads to living, hopefully, a desirable and functional lifestyle. Easier said than done, am I right? But I have to say, I do think it's very important to strive towards having an effective perspective. Because essentially your perspective is your motivator. So depending on where your perspective lies, it can either be your prison or your passport. Sounds a little terrifying. But to provide you a little comfort, I think in my personal journey, I've come to realize a key factor about perspective. The ones who actually control our perspective are us, though many a times it feels the opposite. We are the ones with the power to change it, and realizing that is the sweet spot into turning your prison into your passport. Now, if you're wondering, wow, Priya, when did you get so wise? Let me elaborate. And if you're not wondering, I'm going to elaborate anyway. Disclaimer though, completely unqualified advice coming up ahead. My journey into gaining perspective started when I completely lost all control of it. The year 2021 to early 2022 became one of the best years and morphed into one of the worst at the same time. Although I was living the dream and doing things I really wanted to do, I found myself in an environment that was not best suited for me. But when you're living the dream, you tend to make excuses for your struggles. They'll disappear with time. I'll eventually be able to handle them. Nothing wrong with feeling unwell for a day or 2 or 5. My body will adapt in time. What's a little weight gain? What are a few sleepless nights? And so on. Now, I'm not saying life should be easy. I'm aware that facing problems and learning how to overcome them is what allows you to grow into a better version of yourself, which then, leads to having lived a more meaningful and fulfilling life. But that's just it. When you're facing problems, but your environment is unideal for you to learn and overcome these problems in a healthy way, or they become the stem of your problems and it's affecting your happiness and mental health, that is a huge red flag. But because I had taken the perspective that this is just something that I had to go through to get me where I want to be, I needed to be able to just take it. Sure, it's tough, but I'll have my off days. I can take my mind off then and recuperate before heading back. But this stance soon came to bite me in the back because I was not dealing with my problems. I was just putting them behind me. However, your problems always have a way of catching up to you, and in return, making your issues even more severe. Sure, going out on my off days, taking a break, having a dinner with a friend, catching up on sleep and relaxing helps. You feel better in the moment. But the moment you go back to your everyday environment, you're going to be faced with the exact same problems because you have not dealt with any of them. You just had a temporary fix. I just had a temporary fix. Now, I'm talking specifically about an environment here, but it could be a variety of issues for different people, or it could even be a combination of them. For some of us, it could be a relationship, or it could be your boss, or it could be your friends, or your family members, or your job that is causing you immense amount of distress that you're not able to overcome in a healthy manner. And the longer you go, I'll just handle it because you love this person, or they mean too much to lose, or this job has been your dream and you can't imagine walking away, you soon come to find yourself feeling trapped or imprisoned in a situation that you supposedly desired to be in. And no amount of breaks, vacations, or space is going to help long term unless you remove the root of the problem and deal with the repercussions you have suppressed. The breaking point for me came when I realized that my dream became my nightmare, when I could no longer justify the difficulties I was facing, or the justifications no longer became enough of one to get me through the day anymore. And I was left with only the choice of seeing what I had become because of what I had put myself through. And that was probably the most painful and insufferable thing to go through for me. And it was tough. It was very painful. And I felt broken. There were a lot of tears. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and it really felt like I was falling down a never-ending black hole. To keep it less dramatic. Honestly though, if any of you are at this point in your life where you are acknowledging your worst encounters, facing your worst demons, and your walls have crumbled and you're the most vulnerable you've ever been, my heart goes out to you because it is a terrifying situation to be in. However, I do want to say that by acknowledging it is how you are going to turn your prison into your passport. Because the moment you have acknowledged and accepted your problems, only then will you be able to gain the power to set a new perspective curated specially for you to deal with your problems in the most beneficial way possible. For some of us, it is going to be a longer road than others, but you have to keep pushing through and fight the fight to accept your reality, because the strength you are going to gain from coming out of it is what you need to escape it and write yourself a new one. Now, this is the part where I tell you, okay, so now that you're facing your worst demons, surround yourself with good people, have a good support system, and that's what's going to get you through your toughest moments. And it's true. When I was going through possibly one of the most difficult times in my life, I had really good people around me to help and support me through it all. And if you do too, that's amazing. But I am aware not everyone has the luxury of having great friends, supportive family members, or even being able to afford a therapist when you're going through the darkest moments in your life. However, I do want to say that that does not mean it is a straight ticket to your doom. The journey is going to be ridiculously harsh, yes, but please do not undermine your strength as an individual, because fighting for yourself is always better than being stagnant. I mean, what do you have to lose when you have hit rock bottom? A little heavy, but on a lighter and a more encouraging note, I do want to say I'm doing so much more better than where I used to be. I did find an environment best suited for me. It took some time. It took trial and error, but I did find my way. And I found a way to still work on things I'm passionate about. Hence, Sit Still Look Pretty was born. And sure, problems are still inevitable, but at least I'm able to deal with them effectively or without it breaking my psyche. Life is definitely a little sweeter, so keep pushing, although it seems like a never-ending journey, and it isn't one. I do think fighting for yourself is something that you have to do every day for the rest of your life. But I do want to say it is worth it, because when you do find your little victories and a sense of hope, sense of happiness, all of your struggles are going to make sense. All the fight that you've put up is going to be worth it, and it's the thing that's going to keep you moving forward. All right, it got a little heavy, so let's take a break and move on to what's trending. Now, if any of you are traveling, then you might have faced what I am talking about today. With COVID finally settling down and people finally traveling, a new global issue has arrived. the case of the missing luggage at baggage claim seems to be plaguing most airports in the world, mainly due to insufficient airport staff. But it's really bad, you guys. We have airplanes flying over with just stranded luggage, no passengers, just luggage. If you're traveling anytime soon and you're getting a little concerned, here's what you need to do to ensure you're traveling safely. Get travel insurance ASAP. This is going to be your saving grace. Sure, you can travel lighter, maybe just have a carry-on to ensure your baggage isn't lost, but there are travelers who have even managed to lose that. But with travel insurance, at least you will be compensated for your losses. Now, how do you find a good travel insurance, you ask? Google it, honestly. But when you do, here are some basic and mandatory coverages that you should look out for in your travel insurance. Coverage for missing or lost luggage, key for the current problem we are facing right now. Flight delays and cancellations. COVID-19 coverage, medical coverage, travel agency bust, credit card fraud, and even kidnapping. I think these are the most crucial coverages that you should look out for, but do Google a few options to compare and contrast the affordability and coverages provided to see which is best for you. And good luck. I shall send you some good energy so that you do not have to face the hassle of lost luggage and they just find their way back to you safely. And have fun traveling. I mean, it must feel so good to be able to get out and get some fresh air after being locked in for 2 years. So go out there and live your best life and have a blast. We've finally come to the segment where everybody, I think all our listeners look forward to the most, which is the guest speaker segment. And today we have a very special guest with us. He started out as a fine arts graduate and now he's the co-owner of his own contemporary bar here called Patina. We have here with us none other than Mr. Rajesh Kumar. Welcome to the show, Rajesh.
Thank you, Priya.
Are you ready to jump right in?
Yep, let's go.
Now, I have to say, as I cyberstalked you online, I found some really cool things about you.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into the good stuff, I have to ask you, how did your journey into the creative work begin?
I think when I was 18 years old, that's when I made a decision to actually join LaSalle. But I had to quit after a year because of financial issues with the family. And 9 years later, I decided to pursue my education. So I started everything back from scratch again and went back to LaSalle. Then again, incident struck. My mom, business failed. Okay. So it was up to me. Do I quit school again? Or do I suck it up and pursue?
Okay.
So I took up 4 various kinds of jobs and I actually finished school.
Wow. Okay, give it up to you. That's pretty damn incredible.
Yeah.
The degree was in fine arts, am I right?
Yes, majored in painting.
Majored in painting.
So funny thing was when I actually joined LaSalle initially,
yeah,
I was thinking about being a fashion designer.
Oh.
Yeah,
right.
Until foundation year, my fine arts lecturers, they were like, are you sure you want to be a fashion designer? Because they knew like I could draw and they knew I could paint.
I see.
They realized that I could. I've never done paintings like when I was younger.
Okay.
It's only during the foundation year I explored color and stuff. And they were like, you don't look like you belong in fashion design. Oh. Like, it was like, really? Like the way you dress?
Ouch.
They were like, don't. Like, you better put fine arts as your first option. I was like, and both my sculpture lecturer and my painting lecturer, they both did that.
Okay, I see. So there was a lot of signals, a lot of signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And never regretted the decision.
Yeah,
though.
I think you went on to do some pretty cool stuff. This next project that I want to talk to you about sounds really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You got a chance to collaborate with Bellman's Eastern and Oriental Express Luxury Travel for a one-off mural, and you painted the koi pond.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So when Belmont reached out to me, first of all, it was like amongst a few other artists who had sent in their artworks, and I only knew about it a night before.
As in the night before you
It's
were...
the final day for submission.
Oh,
Yeah. So I had to work out a rough sketch, not knowing what it is or what's about or anything like that. And just based on luxury travel, that was the only thing that was given to me. And I worked out a sketch using markers and pen on a regular piece of paper.
okay.
And that's what I sent. And amidst all the other artists, I got selected. And I was like,
Wow.
what? Okay, cool. So they brought me in to do this recce trip to go on board the train. And so while I was there, I always spent most of my time at the back of the carriage, the open space.
Okay.
So I would always chill there like day and night. I was on the train for like 3 days till we reached Bangkok. And while I was there, that's when I think it was after Malaysia and it started hitting Thailand. And then it passed through this like paddy fields. So I saw like the sky reflecting off the waters on the paddy field. And I was like, huh. And then I was like, koi fish, you know? And then, so that's one of the things that happened because koi fish represents a certain form of luxury and also the whole idea of like peace and serenity and zen and all that. So they were vibrant as well. And so I started dwelling onto a research. So I had a rough sketch, rough idea in mind. And what I wanted to do is on the sides of the train, right? I wanted it to feel like someone was looking at a koi pond, but like it was vertical instead of flat on the ground.
Right.
And that just became crazy. I started doing a research on koi fishes. Very unlikely. Because initially fish used to bore me, but after that, it was a whole new thing. You start understanding like they had hundreds of variations of koi fish, and each of them was represented with a different sense of luxury to it. So I picked out the designs based on some of the more luxurious koi fish. I had to paint a car at a time, a car meaning a carriage, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of time was wasted trying to configure because of winds and also rain.
Right.
So the rain would be bashing in while I'm doing my artwork. Or sometimes the wind is so strong, I'm spraying. But as I'm spraying, no spray is actually sticking on. It's just being blown away by the wind.
It's that strong?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But you also have situations where there are times where you come across a wild boar or something, and like I'll have to run up to the roof of the train and I'll sit there and I'll wait for it to pass. Monitor lizards. There was some form of a crocodile thingy that was there.
Feels like, you did this against all kinds of odds. It's really like weather to animals. All right. Okay. But you mentioned when talking about this project, you said that you felt like a koi fish in the pond. And the topic for today is perspective. And how, at times it can feel like a prison or a passport, depending on where you stand. So can you just describe to me the perspective of you as a koi fish in that pond, looking at what you've created, essentially?
It felt very reflective in a sense. So like, felt like a koi fish in a pond was very much after the painting was completed. And pretty much because what you see inside a koi pond is just those beautiful little creatures, and they're just swimming around doing their thing. But nonetheless, they're still kept in a box.
Right.
But they find new directions, or they would swirl around the same way or something. But you never really see them like attacking each other or something like that. So I always find myself like that. Like I'm never the sort who wants to pick an enemy or like try to make trouble or anything like that.
Yeah.
I try to get along and I try to work things out. And no matter how much of a box I'm in, I mean, we always got to work within certain form of restrictions, right? Like you get too much of a freedom, you kind of lose control.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the analogy behind Koi Fish in a Pond.
We have to talk about your feature in Harper's Bazaar, where you did a painting named The Indian Sister. Tell me, how did the opportunity land on your lap for this?
Harper's Bazaar, they reached out to me because initially they had published about me doing the train, the Eastern Oriental Express. So from that, when they were doing like this featurette on like 6 selected artists of Singapore to take on classic works of masters and how they would do it in their style, right? I was given a Rembrandt piece. So it was The Girl at the Window, if I'm not wrong. That was the image that I had to work with, or how I get inspired from there. And of course, like, why would I want to paint any other girl? Like, when in my house, like, I have my sister.
Yeah.
Right? And like, she's beautiful as crazy. So I was like, hey, could you wear something like that was more cultural? Like, and then she actually put on this sari thingy and used it as a veil. I wanted it to be more like, back then, like Indian paintings, like Indian painters, how they would paint portraits and stuff. So I wanted to go very much more 2D-esque. So I wanted to focus on like the material, like how the garment was. So my focus was very much that. And then like how the face was glowing with that. I mean, Rembrandt's paintings could be pretty dark, like for people who actually know Rembrandt's work. So, I mean, not as dark as Caravaggio, of course, but like Rembrandt's work could seem pretty dark for most people because of the kind of topics he was touching. I didn't want to focus on something too dark. I wanted to focus like something that I hope within a certain sense of darkness. My sister has always been the light of my eternal darkness, like all the time.
So sweet.
Yeah, so I thought that would be the best thing to put out.
What are your views on the representation of like local artists here in Singapore?
Because we have many talented people over here in Singapore, right? And I don't mean to be like biased towards like Singaporeans and only Singaporeans per se.
Yeah.
But why are we not giving enough opportunities to Singaporeans? Or even more so, the minorities in Singapore? There's so many people, so many minorities out there who have so much talent, sometimes more. There's more to give because there's more to talk. There's so much more that they go through. There's things that could be heard a little more. Yeah, I feel like, and those talents could be very much displayed versus us constantly hiring foreign talent. Trying to get a grant from like NAC to be an up and coming artist and also being brown seems to be like the hardest goddamn thing ever. I think we could do so much more. Why are we giving more money out of grants to people who have already been accomplished? It's like a scholarship going out to a person who can afford a degree, when a scholarship doesn't go out or does not enough to people who can't afford it. I think it'll be a more bigger motivational like things for like low income families, middle income families that has bright individuals in there as well, like who could shine out a lot more, and maybe these things will motivate people to do better. Half of them like drop out of what they would really love to do because there is no support. Or they go over to another country and then they become better.
Oh, too true. Yeah. Now, I think looking at the subjects that we've talked about so far, the opportunities that you've landed personally, How did the opportunities that you have come to you?
It's like grabbing a bull by its horns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, simply put, and as brutal as I would say it, you want something, you go and get it at all costs.
Yeah.
Network, yeah, sure, but some of these networks are just empty talks. Like, they're just talks in the air, or you get sidelined or something like that. So you have to, like, Belmont Project was something like I just went head in. It was hard to come up with a sketch like overnight. I just had good people around me, like good friends who continue to support. And it was, I would say, like, hard work perseveres at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Working smart is also an element. At the end of the day, I would also have to add that it's not just about networking. I think it's about how you push yourself to make it work. That's more important than anything. Especially if you're brown and in Singapore, it's hard. Being an artist, it's not easy. Being anything, it's kind of tough. It has its barriers, I would say. Yeah.
But I think using you as an example, right? Someone who's paving a way and trying to make it happen. I think you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Let's move on into how you got introduced into bartending.
I started as an art handler. I quit my job to be a full-time struggling artist. So to support that, I started bartending as a side gig. Like, it was just freelance, and I was doing more events and stuff. I ended up meeting my current business partner, and we both realized, like, damn, we could work together. Like, this is good, because he was already working at Diageo. So I started working with him. Like, over that time, I started garnering a certain interest. And from there, I started doing whiskey tasting sessions, as in I was actually sought after by Diageo to represent brands like Singleton or Mortlack, to actually be at the booth and, like, actually talk about a whiskey, because for some reason I could make non-whiskey drinkers understand that it's not that whiskey is bad or, like, you don't like it. It's just you haven't found which whiskey is your whiskey. And from there, I worked at a gin distillery for a bit, but that taught me a lot more. So when it started going towards all that, and I started understanding cocktails a lot better, I wanted to focus on cocktails differently. I wanted to focus on cocktails like how I focus my artworks.
Right.
I wanted to bring flavors to the palate. Like, I wanted people to be able to feel. I wanted to be able to, like, fathom, like, something in your head or something. Yeah, that's what I usually go for. So my first thing whenever I make a cocktail is always to observe a person's reaction when they have the first.
Right.
Yeah.
How did this sort of passion project transform into you competing?
So some of our distributors and the brand people, like, they have known me for quite some time because of my previous job over when I was managing Maduro,
Which is another...
another bar.
Okay.
They used to have a good cocktail program back then. Initially, I was offered to join the first competition back then when I was at Maduro. I turned it down because I was too busy. So now when it was Patina, which is partly mine,
Yes.
so I was like, you know what? Yeah.
This was after you started Patina.
Yeah. I've never been in any competitions like before that, like, which is why I fumbled. I didn't win. I got into top 10, but I didn't win. So I went on something that was, like, fully sustainable. I tried to even not use ice because I was, like, on the message of, like, reducing carbon footprint, right? So I got a fridge. Why do I need ice? I didn't need it. And that didn't quite show, like, a bartender flair per se. So there was no stylization in that sense. And then my hands were, like, trembling really bad. So the garnish actually fell off, like, twice as I was trying to put in, until one of the judges was like, calm down, just calm down. But then when they tasted the drink, they tried the garnish, they were pretty amazed. So now, because of that, everyone who tasted the drink loved it. I decided to put it on our menu. now becoming pretty much a mainstay. So our new menu that's gonna be around somewhere in August. Yeah, it's gonna be one of the decadent cocktails on it.
We got to address the elephant in the room,
Mm-hmm.
which is that I think for the past 2 years, ever since COVID began, I think the F&B business suffered a big setback. During that time, you started up a bar.
It was actually slightly before that we actually started it. It was a tiny little speakeasy project that we did inside my art studio. We built everything from scratch, and it was pretty much the first leg of everything before. It's the predecessor of Patina. It was a real speakeasy. Like, we were only open once a week, and people would have to like go through like either word of mouth or like try to reach us.
And they're really cool. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was no like social media like promotion or anything to talk about this. It was just completely like word of mouth, like you said.
It garnered a cult following that still follow us at Patina. And they always go like, "Are you gonna do that again?" And I was like, "No, we have Patina now." So I was like,
"Oh,
my baby grew up, you know."
Yeah. Wow.
So we just wanted to show people like, yeah, we are the underdogs of the industry, but we ain't gonna stop. The one reason why we built that tiny little project was if investors were interested, instead of us showing something just black and white and graph charts and all that kind of crap. It's like when you like a Kickstarter program or something, right? You build something like a prototype and then you let people see it. So that was what that space was.
And then came Patina.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to set it up?
So it took us about 2 months to physically set up. Planning phase was pretty much a month. Computer work, basically like Sun figured out, who is not an art student at all, by the way, like my business partner and buddy and housemate. He figured everything out by watching YouTube videos and all that kind of shit. We play well with each other, and we always somehow have our visions very much in sync. We've taken tropes from each other, and we kind of know how we work and function as well. Yeah. So we have not been oblivious around each other. So all that contributed with that. And the vision that we were going for was old world. We wanted something rustic. We wanted something raw but cleaned out, you know, to put out our personalities. And that's what Patina carries. Patina carries our personalities very well in every goddamn way.
I love meeting like power duos because when me and Priyanka like started our journey into like the media business and everything, I think a lot of people like implied that to be able to succeed in life, you have to be like an individual. You have to like look out for your own back. You only like, you know, you gotta like trust only yourself, and that's the way you're gonna ensure that, you know, you safely make it to the top.
Sure.
But I feel like when you find somebody who understands you that well, and like who shares that vision with you and who knows you without even like sharing a word, they're able to understand what you're feeling. I feel like being like achieving success together is so much more sweeter.
Yeah.
And so much more better than doing it as an individual.
Sure.
And yeah, I know I've congratulated you 1,000 times, but like congratulations again.
Thank
by
you.
the way. I want to talk about the approach that you took, you know, to have this kind of interactive style with your customers. Is that always something that's been like important to you? Is that always why that approach?
So when I'm at work, I become like this other me. The whole idea about Patina in the first place was for it to feel like you're coming to someone's home. You are our guest.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they look at a menu, they got no idea what they want. They might end up ordering something they might not be keen on.
Right.
So I think it's a duty of us to inform our guests very much on how it goes. It builds a better relationship. It builds a better foundation. I believe in extending that hand out. Like, I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm just a paying customer. And then like after that, okay, I'm out of here. And then that's it.
Yeah.
I don't believe an experience stops there. Some of our guests who even go traveling and they come back, they bring us back like stuff. Hey, I thought you might like this, or you want to try something with it. You know, they'll bring us back ingredients or maybe a liqueur or something like that. And then they'll go like, just thought of you guys while we were on travel. It's nice to have
So sweet.
such guests who still think about you after their night has ended. Even with the team that we're ever developing with, the other new teammates that come on board,
Yeah.
more than them working for us, I feel like they're working with us. So it's a big difference in that sense.
Yeah.
And I want to do something in a way that it pays forward.
Yeah.
So in the future, when he becomes a boss or she becomes a boss, right, they would do the same thing. Like, look out for the people who work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's very important. Like, of course, when you got to set things straight, so of course, heat does come in. Like, you know, like there are moments of frustration or anger or something at work and all that, but we constantly remind the team, whatever it is, the fire that's going on during work, that's just work. Once work is over, if you think you want to clarify, sit down, get to understand what's going on and stuff, by all means.
I always feel like it's very important to treat the people you work with as much kindness as possible, because, you know, it's that support that's going to make this entire experience that much more better. And you're going to be seeing these people probably more than you see like your family at times, right?
It's a nice learning curve for like everybody, like from ourselves to guests to our teammates.
I mean, if the environment makes you feel, you know, safe and vulnerable enough to step forward and try new things and share new things, I feel like you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True enough.
What was the perspective of Rajesh when he started this journey, and what is your perspective now?
Mm-hmm.
And how has it changed you?
So when I first started this journey, or rather the cocktail journey, I just wanted to be savvy of what I was doing. I wanted to understand what I'm working with. The same thing as when I've been an artist. When I started being an artist,
Right.
I wanted to understand what I'm working with, which is why I threw myself in very different kind of jobs and everything to get a better grasp of mediums, materials, and stuff. And the same thing, like when I started bartending and when meeting Sun, it was ever ongoing. And like what Sun always tells me, and now it's like a thing that's just stuck there at the back of my head. And I've been constantly saying this as well. Change is constant. Perspective wise is ever ongoing. Like keep going, keep pushing, keep thriving.
So having said that, what's the future for Patina? Any future plans? Any future plans for yourself?
So we've started doing more events now. We got a regular Sunday artist market happening every last Sunday of the month.
Okay.
Where we are working around with like tattoo artists, different kinds of artisans. We hope like people get in tune with this kind of experiences as well.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the interview. If, you know, any of the listeners want to reach out to you regarding what you do you want to give them your social medias?
If you guys want to reach out to me about just personal stuff like art or, you know, inspirations and shit like that, Rajesh Kumar on IG. You will naturally see a face, but it'll be my head will be bundled in a towel for this time around. And anything with regards to patina and cocktails, the event nights, and all that, just follow us on Patina Bar on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah.
My best of wishes to you,
Thank
Rajesh,
you.
and to Patina. I will be counting down my next visit. Priyanka passes you her congratulations as well.
Hi, Priyanka.
We shall be there very soon. Thank you so much for joining us
My
on Sit Still
pleasure.
Look Pretty.
Thank you.
Okay, it has been quite the jam-packed episode, if I could say so myself. But thank you to Rajesh once again for joining us. And please head down to Patina when you can. It is definitely a must-try in Singapore. Trust me, you are not going to regret it. Now, there was a lot of unqualified wisdom and advice that has been shared today, but I hope you found it helpful in some way. And if it hasn't been helpful, I'm giving you one more shot by sharing one last piece of wisdom today through the quote of the month for this episode. Now, I found this quote where I get most of my free therapy, and that is through the one and only show, Grey's Anatomy. We are looking at season 10, last episode. The lines were recited by the badass Christina Yang, played by the lovely Miss Sandra Oh, and it goes, whenever we think we know the future, even for a second, it changes. Sometimes the future changes quickly and completely, and we're left only with the choice of what to do next. We can choose to be afraid of it, to stand there, trembling, not moving, assuming the worst can happen, or we step forward into the unknown and assume it'll be brilliant. Now, the reason I chose this quote is because I know that the idea of making changes in your life can seem terrifying when you're trying to leave something toxic behind because you don't want to find yourself in another similar situation. But you have to trust that you have grown and you know better now, and only through embracing change can you find your redemption. You're welcome. And that concludes the end of the episode. We, Priyanka and I, will catch you with another guest and a new cup of tea in the next episode. This has been Priya on Sit Still Look Pretty, 'cause girl, you're more than a quick gaze.